Honor Flight is an organization that works to take veterans from different wars to the memorials of the wars that they served in.
I'm excited to experience working with the Honor Flight, and I've never seen Washington before, so I'm pretty pumped about that.
An incredible opportunity to spend time with the veterans and to kind of give back to the people who've come before us.
You know, in the past models of Falcon Heritage Forum, we've done a few number of escorts to a large number of veterans.
And it's sometimes hard in those scenarios because unless you're actually escorting the person, which I have been fortunate enough to do before, unless you're actually escorting, you sort of just get their broad general talk to the whole crowd and you don't really get to interact with them on a one-on-one level.
It's a lot of who we are comes from where we've been, and the stories that veterans have to tell are important ones that we should hear and learn from.
And that connection to your past, I think, is huge. And here in the daily grind and what we do, we get so focused on school, we get so focused on making sure everyone's happy, all the boxes are checked, we got all our grades in. We worry so much about getting those things done that we forget to connect with our past, our heritage.
The face of war has changed in terms of how we go into battle, but I think that the courage, the bravery, the sacrifice, and the leadership is still entirely applicable.
You know, we can learn from them what they went through and kind of also allow us to honor them for what they've done.
We're both dealing with the same personal inner struggles on how do we cope with this, what do we actually think about this, why are we doing it?
I think we're very similar in the fact that we both sort of know that we're going to be going into a war.
I think that pulls us together strongly with the greatest generation, as they're considered.
The price of freedom, I mean, we pay it every generation pays for it, whether it was Vietnam or Korea. I mean, we have Iraq and Afghanistan now. This is us paying for the freedoms that we want for our family and our kids.
My mom tells me all the time, you know, I wish your grandfather's still around to see, you know, what you're doing, because my brother's in the Air Force as well, and she says, you know, he'd be so proud of you guys. But I don't get to share that with him. So sharing that with these veterans, it's not the same, but it's close.
Thursday morning, we all drove over to the hotel to check in and meet up with all of our veterans and help them get all their bags ready and get on a bus to go to DIA.
We had a police escort and some Vietnam vets rode up on their motorcycles. They escorted us to DIA. It's almost more like the cadets were in a way separated from each other, which I think was great. We were actually integrated into the program and integrated with the vets. I was really excited to get going. I started to meet everybody on the red team, introduce myself to all the different vets.
You're making a connection here in Baltimore. Step into the gate area.
And then when we walked into the terminal, everybody was just standing there clapping. Everybody was standing up. There was tons of volunteers.
It was just neat for the vets to be welcomed by a whole bunch of military folks.
We all have the same goal, and that is to honor our World War II veterans who have never really received the thanks from those of us who have benefited from their service and sacrifice.
Now, I don't know if it was the culture of the time or if it's their generation or what it is, but everything was we. Not I did this, not I was stationed here. It was my platoon, my unit, my group. You know, we did this.
To see how humble they are after what they've done and some of the stories you've heard, you're just like, how can you be so humble about what you've done when you've done so much for our country?
And at one point we went and there's a fountain in the center, and we went down there and we were just staring off across the water and looking at the Washington Memorial, and he was just telling me about how happy he was and how proud he was of everything that they had done. And he actually started crying, and I got really choked up. It was such a wonderful, emotional moment when I got to share with someone who lived through that war and who did their part.
I'm glad I was able to make it before my time was up.
Each star represents 100 people.
100 people.
Who died during the war, and there are 4,000 stars. So that's 400,000 people.
No, kind of overwhelming.
It is, it definitely is. When we were at the World War II Memorial, I got to have more of an in-depth conversation with Don, who had previously been probably the most quiet.
No, I've had some scary times when the submarines would get onto us and the destroyers would come in and drop their cans on them, but they'd get a torpedo off at you. You could see it coming. You could see it coming.
So you volunteered?
I volunteered. As far as I was concerned, that was a must. There was no ifs or ands about it.
So what was it like for you to come back?
Well, there again, the only person that met me was my dad.
I got a lot of the leadership knowledge that I hoped to glean. The subtleties in their stories really told us a lot, and just the way they carried themselves. It was very educational, and it made us feel good to be a part of that.
Probably the most powerful one for me was the Vietnam Memorial. It's something close to my heart because I have family on the wall, and one of the vets did as well.
Donald, Henricks, Donald, and Private First Class, Marine Corps, 13 November 46, Mount Morris, State of Illinois, Panel 11E, line number 14.
Oh my. Oh my.
Oh, Donald Henricks.
Yeah.
Here he is. Junior?
Yes.
Yep. So, can you see him? It's way up there.
Thank you. I would never have found it by myself.
Just that connection there is the price of freedom. It touches all of us in some way, shape, or form.
It was probably even more impacting on us based on their reaction, seeing the changing of the guard at Arlington National Cemetery. Just for them to see firsthand the future of our military.
And we saw the Air Force Memorial, which was pretty awesome. I was pretty excited to see that. And it was just really beautiful. The view you could see the Pentagon from our memorial, you could see pretty much all of D.C.
I'm Johnson, my boss at NATO headquarters, and under him was Killer Kane, who shot me to be called back to duty.
And to be there with all the Air Force Academy cadets and a bunch of Air Force veterans or Army Air Corps veterans, it was a wonderful experience. It was our little moment just with them. It was our connector between the two generations.
Just being able to hear a first-person telling of World War II it's amazing.
It was about the 11th day I was on the island. I landed on D+5, which was the day that they raised the flag. And there was a lot of commotion there with bells and whistles from the ships seeing the flag. And we were on a patrol trying to neutralize a pillbox. Unfortunately, I was out in the open a little bit too long. Rifleman shot me in the chest, right about here.
When you were sitting on the beach waiting for it to be taken off,
Mm-hmm.
what was going through your head?
Well, I didn't know what happened, really. I know something happened. I figured I got shot because I wasn't missing any body parts.
Right.
Because most of the casualties there were due to mortar and artillery fire. So, there'd be arms and legs and body parts laying all over. And in fact, sometimes you try to jump in a hole, a shell hole or a foxhole to get cover, and there'd be a body part or a body in there, and you never knew it. But you were just diving in there. The corpsmen are quite loved by all the Marines. But that's basically my story.
When you're actually talking to them and it's their story, it really brings it home, and you take it so much more personally. You take the stories and the lessons and the just experience personally, and it lets you have an appreciation for the military members who came before you.
Coming back was even more incredible than going there, and I didn't think that was possible. It was even more of a surprise for them to come up the crest of the escalator, and there's the Drum and Bugle Corps, 200-something people clapping, waving flags.
We got to just have this amazing moment with our veterans one last time, and they played Amazing Grace. And one of my veterans, Dick, he was just put his arm around me, and it felt like I was hugging my grandpa, which was such an amazing experience for all of us.
I just can't tell you how much it meant to all of us. It's wonderful.
We were totally surprised again. We've had one surprise right after another, and it's very hard not to cry a little bit.
I can go home and remember this trip forever, and the greeting that we got when we got here in this airport was so gratifying and so pleasant, because we were greeted with people that loved our American way of life and our freedoms and all that. And I thank everybody for that. And we appreciate all the thanks that they've paid to us during this trip. And thank you very much for a chance to say so.
It's very real.
It seems kind of unfathomable in such a short amount of time that you can have such a tremendous impact on a person.
Some of the vets I talked with have been waiting a long time, and a lot of vets pass away before they can actually travel to see the memorials in D.C.
Having been on the trip, I wish I could do it all the time.
If we can get the Falcon Heritage Forum program to actually be involved and say, hey, we won't send you just 10 cadets, we'll send you 20 cadets, 30 cadets, and we'll do this 3-4 times a year for you guys.
The fact that we were immersed in this situation for 3 days, you know, living right alongside the veterans. I roomed with one of the veterans.
Being here, having such a rushed life, we really need to take a step back sometimes and think about our experiences and what we're actually getting to do here and make a difference.
You know, here we were carrying suitcases and everything, pushing wheelchairs, holding doors and everything, you know, helping them up to the rooms and everything. It was incredibly humbling, and none of us were begrudging or anything like that. You know, why am I doing this or something, anything like that. We were just glad to help out and glad to lend a hand. And I guess it kind of illustrates that it doesn't matter what position you are in life. There's always someone out there who can use your help, who can benefit from your caring and your understanding.
I took away an incredible sense of respect for those veterans.
And really just seeing these guys and hearing about the things that they went through makes anything here at the Academy seem completely trivial. But they did it happily, and they served this nation with incredible honor. And I think that's really something that we need to focus on, is how we can sort of translate their notion of what's important and try and meld that with ours to really find out what we're doing in the military.
We just got so many wonderful experiences where you'd get pulled aside and they'd tell you a crazy story about when they were in and when they saw bombs dropping at Pearl Harbor.
It was just a very humbling experience working with these gentlemen, and I had the opportunity to room with one, so that was a great opportunity for me, because not only was I able to spend the time at the memorials with them, but then at night we were able to go and they opened up a little bit more.
And I can stay in contact with these guys for as long as they're with us, and actually learn stories from them and continue that relationship.
You know, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about a World War II veteran or, you know, some person who's about to be a lieutenant. There is this shared sense of heritage and a bond between us.
These people are just great people, and they're intelligent. They understand what they're getting into. It's an honor to be around them, really.
Well, I don't know what the Air Force's creed is, but ours is honor, courage, and commitment. And they can't go wrong if they do that. Keep their honor, make their commitments, and be honest.
We understand and appreciate. And we got some wonderful people coming up. I just say my prayers every night for everybody that's in the service. You're doing a wonderful job.